Anyway, we're recording. Sorry about the delays. Well, we had bus delays, we had technical difficulty delays, we had Ustream didn't want to connect up to the right source, was only showing the webcam and not the actual correct thing that it was supposed to show. But hey, it's doing that now, so let's roll with it. First of all, like to welcome you all to Haiku Down Under. It's our 5th year doing it. This year we have titled it Beta Blockers. Housekeeping, just to get that quickly out of the way, there's the IRC channel. It's on irc.freenode.net, where we're in the channel #Haiku-AU, which most of you have been in there and been there most of this morning. I'm glad that you guys have been there. There's the Twitter hashtag HDU2012. I'll be doing all sorts of things, hopefully during the day, and also going on from then. So please don't hesitate to follow along or participate. We're streaming on Ustream, obviously, which is what we're doing right now. It is being recorded. Actually, I did promise I was going to do a recorded version with ScreenFlow. And I should fire that up now, shouldn't I? So, what's the state of Haiku? What's been happening so far? Well, I told a friend of mine I was going to be doing this conference, and he actually said to me, "Isn't Haiku dead already?" I guess you could excuse him a little, since there hasn't been a release of Haiku since June 2011 with Alpha 3. Though, I'm hoping today I can show you exactly what's happened over the last year. In September 2011, we had the Google Summer of Code 2011 final updates and results, and this seems to be when Haiku does get a boost, as you can see, in its code base. Mike Smith added additions to the VirtualBox support. Nathan Hensley brought SDL, which is the simple direct layer used for games, brought that up to date, up to 1.3. Gabriel Hartman provided Haiku with a USB video cam for high-end webcams. Well done. And Sean Healy's project is to enable third-party projects to access B's or Haiku's API with other languages other than C++, using languages namely such as Python and Perl. Then in October 2011, for a few months, Callistus, aka Alexander, had been working on a driver for the ATI AMD Radeon HD cards. I believe Alexander has tested this with 4 cards ranging from the Radeon 2400 up to the 58300. Then in November we had the BGeist 24 that was held. For those who don't know what BGeist is, it's an European annual, biannual conference where talks and coding and lots of fun is had. During this particular BGeist weekend, there were several talks and presentations about Haiku's release process and the state of package management. We'll hopefully touch on that later on. During the code sprint there were also lots of commits ranging from game sound API to low-level stuff like memory corruption and debugger work. All in all, it was a very productive week, and good job to all those who were involved. In December 2011, Michael Lotz, aka MMLR, has been hired to work full-time on Haiku. He started working on a project called Keystore, which will, once done, for example, will enable Haiku to store the wireless LAN password or various other things. It sounds like this project's a little bit like, say, Keychain is to OS X. In February, Robert Steeler, as part of his bachelor thesis, wrote a VoIP client for Haiku called VopTop. The aim of VopTop was to create free hidden telephone calls anonymously within a closed network. The developer first planned to publish VopTop with VoIP functionality only, but he soon found that a lot of sound cards in Haiku just don't support. Only supported the line out, and to do an effective VoIP client, you need obviously both line in and microphone. Because of this, an instant messenger was also added to this client, and it's also using a secure and anonymous protocol as well. In March this year, once again, for the sixth year in a row, congratulations. Haiku was accepted into the Google Summer of Code. Much respect to Matt Madia for once again bringing this all together behind the scenes. And I'll speak a little bit more on the Google Summer of Code projects later on. In March, we also saw the Haiku's first bug fix weekend, during which developers from all over the world got together using bshare, which is an old school program for you guys who don't know, and got their coding skills working at full speed, trying to squash as many bugs as possible. And that's really great to see, and we hope that there's going to be more of those next year. In May, Alexandria Deckner was hired to work on the WebKit and WebPositive, which is the browser for Haiku. Alexandra, aka Aldec, primarily known for his work on Tracker, stated that good web support is something crucial for any operating system these days. It is, for some users, the main software that they will use on a computer and one of the first things a new user will try on Haiku. To summarize, Haiku has to provide the best web experience possible, and I believe I can help to go in that direction. And I agree with that wholeheartedly, and we wish him all the best. I was trying to get an update on where he was at with that project. I'll have to hit him up later on and see how things are going. But yeah, definitely one of the things we need. In June, saw the quarterly reports of the Google Summer of Code, with the three projects being the OpenJDK port, which is coming along nicely, the x86-64 port, and the CPU idle project, showing nice progress. We also heard updates about the NFS version 4 and a much-needed BFS partition resizer project. In July, Michael Lotz returned after a few months off, and he came back with quite an interesting idea, and that was by generating QR codes for kernel debug land for submitting crashes. So the idea is to simplify the process of capturing this KDL information displayed on it without having to, say, write it down or take a photo of it. You'll be able to submit it as a QR code, and that's pretty cool. Last month we also saw the midterms come in for the Google Summer of Code, with good news, nothing but good news. All the students passing. Better yet, two of the students have actually been given commit access. That's Alex Smith for the x64 port, and Hamish Morrison of the OpenJDK port. So yeah, these are the two projects I was talking about, and then there's the NFS, which is a distributed file system protocol originally developed by Sun back in 1984. But version 4 hopes to improve performance, mandates a stronger security, and introduces a stateful protocol. Uh, version 4 was actually the first version that was actually developed by the Internet Engineering Task Force after it was handed over by Sun, so obviously they're not looking after it anymore. And then there's the BFS partition resizer, which would be very handy for those people using... Oh, we have an update on Aldec. He completed it, did he? Oh. I'll talk to you about that later on. Anyway, so what needs to be done? Package management. I know last year I said the same thing. It's as relevant as it was then as it is now. That being said, I did hear a rumour that Ingo Weinhold might be taking a look at this very soon, if not already. So hopefully by this time next year I'll actually be telling you about how cool the package management system is in Haiku. Better wireless support. Yep, that's another one from last year. We've seen some progress, but it would be good to finally put this one to bed. Certain driver issues with graphics and audio. Now, this is something that's I think is going to plague Haiku as much as it did BOS. Writing drivers takes a special breed of person, and it's not exactly one of the easiest of tasks. For those who are writing drivers, we take our cap off to you. So we actually find out all the outstanding issues for Haiku that need to be resolved for the release 1 or the R1 version at dev.haiku-os.org/wiki/future Haiku features. These were all voted a while ago, so don't feel that you can try and step over these. That was already done and dusted. But you can see that they're how ranked in what order of importance. So it wouldn't be a Haiku down under without our wish list, and we would like to see XFAT. XFAT, I guess I've been loving it lately. I've been putting it on all my USB keys, mainly because it works with both Windows 7 and OS X, and granted it does have read support also on Haiku, but no write support. I recently spoke with Jerome Duval about this, who wrote the read support, and he doesn't currently have any plans to add write support. So if someone out there is keen to do this, or someone joked to me, I think it was Uriah, said I should write it myself. I'd love to if I had the time and knew what I was doing. But we'll move on. A Haiku book. Being people who want to do developing on Haiku, and that's one of the good things about it is the APIs. The B-book is great, but times have changed, and the Haiku book needs to be updated to have all the information from the B-book, plus any changes and additional new APIs, such as like the notifications and services kit, etc. And how about a new alpha? I don't know about you, but I think it's time. So we're just going to have a short break, and hopefully the audio for this comes through. And we're back. Hope you enjoyed that little video showing all the commits happening into Haiku in the past X number of years. The 11th birthday was yesterday. So now we're just going to go through the process of setting up VMware for your machine. Some of you have probably already done this, but we just thought we'd throw this in as a startup. So we're just going to go to haiku-files.org. For this process, I mean, we like to use the experimental GCC4 hybrid. GCC2 is the recommended one, but for this exercise we're going to be using the bleeding edge. So I'm just going to download the ISO first, fire up whatever virtual machine program you're going to use. If you're on Windows, use Workstation. Linux, there's the VMware Workstation as well. I believe the Linux one's free at least. I'm just going through the process here. We're using Fusion, which is the Mac version. Just setting the operating system to other. I always just set mine to 64-bit. I don't know if it really matters or not. And then just going to give it a name and then customize some of the settings. Now some of these settings the CPU setting is definitely experimental, so if you put too many cores on it, it can bog your system down, but not on these ones that we're running on. Okay, let's just fire up this sucker. Okay, Haiku's take it. This is on this recorded video. It's just things are a little bit slower because it was also running a recording software as well. Here we go. Just go through the installer. You know, run as a live disk or just hit run install. It's pretty simple. Of course, because we've just created this VM, there are no partitions that are actually set up for the BFS format or the Haiku format. So, but just go hit set up partitions. Select the partition and initialize it. Very simple. And I apologize if you've been getting the Katy Perry video on the ad on Ustream. That's got to be very annoying. I keep waiting and waiting that there'll be a better solution for next year. I was hoping Google Hangouts was going to be it, but no such luck. Anyway, so we go through creating that partition. That's easy enough to do. Select the partition and hit begin, and away it goes. Won't take long at all. You can basically just go make yourself a cup of coffee or whatever, and by the time you come back it'll definitely be done. So by the miracle of post-production, here's one we created earlier. So just going to restart, and it'll boot into that shiny new install. And up comes, and usually the first thing I like to do is just clean up. So we're just going to get rid of those couple of dead shortcuts, or And the system at this point is also setting up SSH keys and various MIME types, as you'll see happening with the notification center. These are just the tracker preferences I like. I like to go in and just set those up. And just a couple of settings for desk bar as well. And last thing to do is just usually set up your time. And this is very easy to do. Basically just set your location. In our case, Brisbane. Bam, done. Now, one of the things you'll notice with setting up one of the nightly builds is it doesn't actually come pre-installed with any applications, such as a web browser. So, but that's easy enough to take care of. Just open up Terminal, type install optional package, and we just add web positive. Paladin, we're going to add, which is the IDE, bbook. So development, and while we're here, we might as well also add Wonderbrush and Subversion. Now, the reason why we're going to be actually using Subversion today is leading up to this, I really wanted to use Git. Git is actually what Haiku uses, but had issues trying to set up a new GitHub repository. Tried to check in and it wasn't having it, so then I set up a SourceForge Git repository and it still wouldn't work with it, and then I just added a Subversion repository and it worked for that. So don't know why. Maybe it's with these current nightlies or the GCC4 hybrid builds or something. Maybe someone else out there knows why it's not working with Git, but so we'll be using Subversion. So anyway, now for the main attraction of today, the Code Jam. Your task, if you choose to accept it, is ta-da! HDrop is what we're calling the Dropbox client for Haiku. So first of all, we're just going to quickly run through a project, all the basics that you need for setting up a brand new project. As I mentioned before, source repository, you can either go the public or the private route. Public ones such as GitHub or SourceForge, or private ones such as Bitbucket. Also, to touch on that Git issue that I had, I did actually try setting up a private Bitbucket one and so had the same problem. So setting up a website, that's a good thing to do for a project because the project obviously deserves a good presence of its own. It's good for these reasons, for visibility and also to have a support facility, whether this be some sort of ticketing system, a forum, web email form. You have to give your users some way to give you feedback. In this case, we'll probably be setting it up as a web page using the wiki on SourceForge at this stage, and then that'll probably move to some sort of site later on. Screenshots, that's another good thing that you can show off on your website, because you want to show how cool it looks to the world. Having somewhere where people can download, obviously, and blog about the progress of your app or some other API tip that you found out whilst you've been writing the app. It's always good for that too. Social media, what project wouldn't be complete without it? Set up a Twitter account for either the project creators or for the app if you want to go into that granular, and if you plan to have tons of apps and you want to get your support that way. Using hashtags is also a great way to spread the word. Set up a Facebook fan page. They're easy enough to do if you like being in that walled garden. There are 800 million plus users there, so it is also a good way to get it out there. Google Plus is another way you can create company pages. Hasn't taken off as much as the other social networks, but yeah, always good to have. They're open source friendly ish. So to wrap up, social media very hip but optional. Now we have the software life cycle. This is a structure imposed on the development of a software process, and this usually involves a number of phases. The first phase being the planning phase, where we actually work out what it is we're going to do and how, and in this case HDrop. The design is working out the pseudocode or GUIs, sketching it out. You don't have to be a great artist, you can just draw up some windows and do that. Implementation, that's actually writing out the code. Test is an important phase. Test. Make sure you try and iron out all those bugs. Deployment, well, a great idea is nothing unless you can actually get the product out there, so that's something I don't think we'll get on today. Maintenance is another phase where later on you'll keep adding new features and fixing any bugs that you'll get from those user requests. And then, of course, probably 6 months to a year later on, we can look at revising. Lean is good. Apparently, some random person said that. All right, let's do it. Okay, just as I said, the planning phase. Just going to plan out what we need. So, being a Dropbox client, it's going to need to be a Deskbar replicant app with B menu items. So I've just got a little screenshot here of what it would kind of look like. It's going to need to access the API calls using curl. Now I've written some sample code last year. I wrote a Bitly client using curl, and that was easy enough to do. There is that services kit which I mentioned earlier, but at last stage I'm not sure what it's at. I heard Niels was tinkering with it. It was the last thing I heard. But we'll need to set up like a special first time user wizard to capture the user's app key and app secret, along with whatever default directory. That's probably the only drawback with writing a third-party client for Dropbox, is that the user needs to actually add the application as an app and get those two things. It's a minor detail, and we'll try to make that as easy as possible during the while we'll have this first time setup wizard. The icon that's going to be up in the B menu, up in the desk bar, we'll need 4 icon states. Now I don't know if there's anybody who's very good with the vector icons. I was struggling a little bit with I think you need to use XRes rather than QuickRes. Quick Res is really good for doing just your old style icons, but the Haiku vector ones I had a little issue with. But for this project, I just borrowed someone else's icons, which is where I got the example for the deskbar code. But anyway, so that we'll need 4 states for the icon: a normal state, a normal with a tick to show that it's connected and that everything's working properly, a normal with a cross on it to show that obviously that there is no connection, and a normal with arrows on it to show that there is a transfer in progress. Just some other things. We'll also need to use some B alerts that respond to a yes and no's, and also B notes that respond to I think with a text view in them. That's probably for when we get them to pick the default directory, but I'm not sure. We'll get to that later. We're going to need to read and write settings, possibly maybe flattening these as B messages, but maybe at this stage we might just start off saving them as text. And as I said, we're going to have to handle multiple windows coming off the B deskbar replicant. Okay, funky transition time. Let's do it. Now, let's just see if I can get my window in here and make it big enough for me to actually be able to code and you to be able to see. That's going to be a challenge in itself, isn't it? First of all, we're just going to fire up Paladin, the great IDE that we're going to be using to set all this up. So let's just create a new project here. I'm going to make it a GUI with a menu. We may end up changing that later on. Too sure. Because there seem to be a couple of ways that I looked at for doing the replicant. So the B deskbar replicant stuff. There seem to be a couple of people doing different things with the project. I looked at the network preferences one that's in Haiku. It was doing things a little bit different. I ended up looking at some code that someone pointed me to called for the DB Weather app by CBR. Sorry, not CPR. It was up on GitHub. He had another way of doing it, which I ended up following, and that's the way I'm probably going to do it today. Even though a lot of the code does kind of end up in the view rather than in the window, I sort of found that a little bit strange, but it worked. Okay. Bear with me. Yes, Chris Roberts, sorry, is CPR, the Haiku deskbar simple weather replicant. Great bit of code there. Thanks. And, of course, these pages are printed double-sided, aren't they? Right. Now to start off, let's just have a look at what's in our header file. I don't think we really need to touch anything in our app header. I think that's all pretty much, yep, there's nothing new that we have to sort of add in there. One thing we will do is in our system libraries. We're just going to add, where is it? Libcurl. Right, in our app.cpp, let's go change this. Our MIME type. So feature up. Name of our bucket. Not sure. Can you, everyone? Is that blurry as, or can anyone actually see it? That's a good question. Hopefully you can. Right. So in the app.cpp, we show the main window here. Now we might need to change this later on, because this is also where we set up the desk bar. Maybe it's a better way to just set up the desk bar here and not have that window, and then we just spawn the window from the desk bar, from the main view. That might be a better way to do it. Just at this stage, just so that we can get up and running a lot quicker, I'm just going to leave it in there for the time being. We'll use that as our first time window, and we might just hide it if the settings are already there. So we're just going to check. We're just going to call main view as our item for the desk bar. We're just going to check to make sure that that's in there. And if it's not, well, let's just alert ourselves. Main view in desk bar. Actually, I wonder if that might be some of my debug code anyway. Go. Yep. Status T. Oops. I can type properly. App info result equals. So just setting up the code to set up the desk bar replicant. Keep running app info. Find thread. Oops. Why is the wrong key keep coming up? There we go. If result is not be okay, we're just going to dump out a B string error, string roster error, string. Just gonna dump that in there. Geez, that Katy Perry's coming on a fair bit, isn't it? They're really putting in the ads for it, aren't they? What's that? Well, yeah, kind of hoping there would be. Yeah, so disk. So we add our item. So setting up this code isn't really going to mean much at the moment. It's going to cause our app not to run because we're going to be referencing something that we haven't actually set up yet. And really all I'm doing here is just setting up errors that if an error occurs, then we're just going to get told about it with an alert. So that's all we're really doing there. Okay. And yep, all the rest of that should be fine. Okay. Now, let's go have a look what's going on in main window. Oops. Main window, we're actually going to, we'll have a fair bit of code in there. So, to set that up, let's just add, so if we press Alt Tab, I don't know if you noticed that, but press Alt Tab, that'll actually open your header file rather than having to open it yourself. Now, things we want to define in here, some of the classes that we're going to be using. So, as I said, we're going to need a menu bar. We're going to need some buttons, and some text controls, and a string view, so we can display some stuff on the screen. Right. Now to declare some stuff, so let's declare that menu bar. Just pry that, make sure you pry the door open. B view, we're going to set up a B view. This will just use the little door thing. Going to set up some buttons. We'll actually probably reuse these buttons, I think, on each. Well, we're going to just have one window for this setup thing, and just remove things on and off that same window when we need it, but we'll reuse these same buttons. We'll basically be using back and a next button. Also need a button to open a URL. And a button for a new folder. So also going to need to display some stuff on the screen. Once again, we'll reuse these. I'm just going to call these info labels. Could probably just recreate, just create these locally on each instance, but I'm just going to do this at the moment. Probably need about 5 of these, I think. 5. Right, we're going to need to capture some of that information, so we're going to need some text controls. As I said, we're going to need to get that app key. Oops. And that app secret. Now I'll probably be posting mine on the screen when I write this app. I have set up a special account that has nothing in it, so I don't care if someone does try and take it over. But I will be changing or probably deleting the key after this example. Now we're just going to set up some functions that we're probably going to need. So we're going to need one to check to make sure our config actually exists. I want to load the config. I want to read our config. And I want to save our config. Going to set up another one to open URL, because there's a couple of functions in Dropbox where it just loads their web page, and so we'll just be doing that with web positive. I don't actually know if someone might know whether there's the ability to launch using whatever someone's default web browser is. At the moment in the code that we're probably doing, I'm just targeting straight at web positive. And I'm just going to set up some functions for these steps. There's about 5 steps for the setup process. Step 3, 4. Step 5. Right. Okay, so that's all in there. I'm just going to compile just to see how badly broken our app is at the moment. Yeah. Lots of stuff. Lots of stuff we haven't compiled yet. So that's cool. I might get you to take over in a sec, actually. Alright, so I've now set up all the things I need in the main window. Love those blank printouts. This main window. Okay. Just start typing. And
Right, it's marking for a while. Giving Phil a quick break. Just going to start. Trying to fill in this big include list. Alt. Alt V. Right, so I've got an alert button, diskbar, entry file, menu, .h. Menu item. Standard audio. Standard audio. Screen.h. All nicely in alphabetical order. And view.h. Okay, now define a quick variable. And an enum. Notice single quotes here because we're actually declaring an integer using text characters. Oh, comma. Sorry. Comma. Button new folder. That's interesting. In this thing, there's no value for a new folder. Maybe it's not used. Maybe it's just a placeholder. So there's no value for this one. I guess that's deliberate.
No, no. That should have something there.
Did you do all this, or
Sorry?
is all your stuff?
Yes. This code does actually work.
Even with that left out.
It must have. But I hadn't actually tested that. Let's get it. I'll just set up your machine.
And Tidok is the final one. Right. Now where are we? Slow it down a bit. Right, a couple of constants.
Sorry about that, Steve. I didn't know it was that bad. We are actually recording the desktop as well. And I think I'll create a higher version of that.
Hey Phil, have you got the end of that line?
Thanks. No, but I can get it for you. This is the request token URL. Is that the one?
Yep.
Good browsers. Just pull down the code. Let's have a look. Where did you get up to? It's request token. Request underscore token.
TOK, and you can't see what. See, underscore TOK.
Then just en close quotes semicolon.
Oh, okay. So that's what I guessed. Yeah. Who wrote all this originally? What does static mean on a function?
That's an old bit of BOS code that I've had floating around with me for years. See the center window code. That's a piece of BOS code that I've had with me for since the year 2000 or something like that. Basically what it does is it just looks at the size of your screen, halves that, and halves the frame size of the window, just so it puts the window in the middle of the screen. Yeah, so it's a function that you basically you give it the window name, and in this case we're just going to use the special keyword this.
You can't tell by the typing in point.x equals screen frame dot width, etc.
So you just put in that function.
Yep.
Just trying to catch up with some of what's been happening in the chat room. I'm actually pretty happy. It's been pretty active in the chat.
Hmm.
In previous years, I think we've had about 5 or 6 people, and it's been pretty quiet. Stressman came with the idea for the icon of maybe using our generic Haiku box, just a blue version of it. Because I don't think you can use the exact same blue box that that Dropbox has. But I don't think it needs to be either. Yeah, as Jay Stressman points out, the logo is copyright.
We've got page 2. Oh yeah. Sorry mate. Yep. Can you actually read it?
Basically, this function, all it does is it just calls off the load config with and the load config will return a boolean. I can't actually read it, but I've got the code here in front of me as well. Sorry, I'm cheating. As I said, all this code will be put into SourceForge, so it'll be all up for everyone to see later on. So this check, as I said, this check config function will fire off the load config, which returns a boolean. Basically, if it finds the settings file, and then the check config, if it returns false, that it can't find that settings file, then it'll fire off step 1 of our wizard. And yeah, so this is the load config, which is going to use a B entry just to find our file. The settings file was a constant char that we actually set further up. You know, there are a couple of different ways of setting things like this. I just use constant chars. You can use defines. Probably put them into a constants header file or something and refer to them from in there even. As the project gets bigger, that's probably a better way of doing it, having them off in a separate file. But at this early stage, I think we'll just leave it in the file as is. That the line you just typed in is actually commented out was a debug to pop up a B alert.
Right.
If the settings file didn't exist, well, we don't really need to know that. Just mainly testing, but probably good to leave it there just to make sure it still does work.
You mean uncomment? What's the? Has it got a pointer dereferencing? There's something on there which I can't see. Do you have to close it or something? Right.
Back on the MIC. What were you? Sorry, what were you referring to? The arrow. Oh, okay, yeah, that was just a pointer, and then go. Yeah, so like that. Okay, probably. Yeah. Okay. Since we lost some time this morning, I'm just going to suck down some source code and get us up and running a little bit quicker. We have a folder. Where are the files? And there we go. Now it has files. So we have files. Basically what we've done here, I don't know if you can see, I think that logo's in the way. So I tried to create a resources.rs. It's probably best if I don't highlight that. Resources.rsrc file using QuickRes. As I said, I had issues with that. So I went to the newer icon format, the RDEF file format, which uses the resource vector icons, and much easier to, well, still text-based, so it's much easier to sort of see what's going on and set it up without the need of an additional program. And then in here you can call the different vector icons. I've just grabbed the code from, as I said earlier, from DB Weather, the Chris Roberts application. I've actually even just grabbed his icons as well. I hope he doesn't mind, but I just needed some sort of placeholder, as I couldn't get my own Haiku vector icon graphics to work as well. So yeah, so basically, let's fire up Paladin. So I was wanting to spend a bit more time actually working on the code here, but due to the technical issues and the like, we've just rushed through it a bit quicker. Sweet. I've just read in the chat room that Jay Stressman's been working on a vector icon for us. That's awesome. Okay, let me just run the app as is, and then you can have a look. For Haiku, really? This is the first I've heard about it. I've been talking about this for a while. Okay, so basically what we've written in the app, so we've got B menu. Can you actually, is that getting chopped off the screen? Is that, we've got Katy Perry again. I think the screen's, there we go, that's why you're not seeing it. It's all, something's gone funky with the area that it's capturing. Right, so here's our VDS bar. Basically got it responding. So it responds to B messages. So if it's left clicked, basically it just brings up this B alert that just says, "Hey, I've been left clicked." Probably not going to need. I was thinking we'd needed to do different things if it's left clicked, but looking at other operating systems, like I looked at the Windows way it's implemented on there, if you left or right click, it does basically just does the same thing, which brings up this menu, which we've currently just got working with a right click. So I'll probably adjust the code to make it so that either left or right click does the same thing. These are the same options that were available on the Windows side and what I saw from the OS X client as well. So there's an open Dropbox folder which really just open, well, on Windows it opens Explorer, on OS X it opens Finder. So on Haiku it's just going to open Tractor to that folder. So that should be they've got no code there at the moment. All I've done is I've just added B alerts that just get triggered off just to prove that the menus actually work. launch the Dropbox website, and that's just going to be the same thing. That just purely just opens up your default browser and takes you to their homepage. In this case, we'll probably do web positive. Sorry, left clicked on that. Recently changed files. At the moment, I've just got it opening another window. That was just purely to prove that yes, we can open other windows. We're dealing with multiple windows. Yay! And that was a window being spawned or being created from within the from the desk bar view, rather than this window, which is currently being created when the app gets created. And that's why we may need to change that later on to get rid of this one, because there is I found there's a bit of a hold up in if that window is hidden and then you close using the quit from the B desk bar, it doesn't kill the application. The application keeps running, and so yeah, that I think the problem stems from that. Okay. So Rev's recently changed files. Preferences, same thing. I've just got that'll open up the preferences, so that'll be another window that needs to be created. Help Center. Now this is the one I have actually got linked up. So if you click on that, it does actually launch Web Positive and sends them to the Dropbox Help Center. So that was a bit of proof that yes, we can do that code to launch to fire off Web Positive. This obviously assumes that you've got Web Positive already on your machine, but though, I mean, I don't know too many Haiku systems that wouldn't at least have this. But there may be some people who like to use Firefox, maybe one of those really old versions of it. I don't know if there is a way, but if someone knows how to tie into, if there is a some sort of setting for a default browser somewhere in the API, that would be good to get that in there too. And then, as I said, the quit will actually remove from the menu bar, but it does leave it running. The other things that we've done with the with this help thing, so it's a bit blurry to read here, so I'll read it out. So it just says, "Welcome to Dropbox for Haiku. As this is the first time running this application, you will need to configure your client." So we hit next. That takes them to the next stage, and this is add as a Dropbox app. Now this is where the user has to add our app as a Dropbox app to their own Dropbox install. It has to be a unique name as well. So what we're doing is we're just listing out what the details are that people have to put. So app name, we've just got hdrop and some randomly generated number. I'm just using the C random function in the code, which does in the times that I've tested it, seems to bring up the exact same random number the next time you run the app. So there's got to be definitely a better way to add a seed in there to get that more random. The description, you have to actually put some sort of description in, and then the access level, whether you putting full Dropbox support, which is obviously what you want. We've got the easy to click open URL, which takes you straight to the exact URL that you go to do that app stuff. So if I just log in here, as you can see, I've got a hdrop 16807 as an app, which you probably can't see. I should stop saying that, shouldn't I? And then there's the options button next to it. If I click options, then that lists the two apps, app key and app secret, which, as I said, I'll probably change those later. I'll have to change those later on. Anyway, if we go back to our wizard, we click the next button, This has got those B text controls that we set up so that we can paste in the app key, and the app secret. I don't think there's a way that we can actually scrape the page to get that stuff to make it easier for people. I think this is as easy as we can make it at the moment. Next, that gives us the Dropbox location. At this stage I haven't got any code to add. The idea was just to be, it's going to be in your boot home. We'll obviously need to add some code that automatically creates that folder for you, which will probably happen at this stage. We've also got the new folder button there, which is coming soon. That's where I said we're going to need a B alert that pops up with a text control already in the B alert, which is what they can do. They can actually do that, and then just return that value. I don't know if we want to go down the path of making that any more elaborate than it needs to be. Whether we, use a B button within have a whole new window with a B button with an ellipsis that you click, and then a file navigator. I don't know if we want to go down that path. We can always add that. That's APIs for that are fairly easy to do, but generally people are just going to have their Dropbox folder under their home folder at this. Well, I think at this stage, I think they are, unless someone proves me wrong. And that's always something that can be fixed later on anyway. And then the final message to say done. And at this point, it is in your home config settings area. Let's just expand that out. It's made a hdrop settings file, which, if I can just bring that over so you can see it more, which it's just a text file at this stage, which just has the app key, app secret, and the folder. So then we can load those variables back in later on. So if I just close the app, that has now closed the app. It's removed it from there. If I run it again, as you'll notice on that run, the help window didn't come up because it checked to see if the settings file existed. It did exist, and then everything's all here. If I do hit quit, as I said, the problem I've talked about is that hdrop is still running, so you just have to manually quit it, otherwise it won't be able to be recompiled later on. So, what's everyone's thoughts in the chat room? I know it's probably getting late for our European friends. Very late, isn't it? I'm not sure what and we're probably going to keep going here for another 40 minutes or so. 4 a.m. in Paris, hey? Well, there you go. And yeah, what is it? It's about 7:15 in San Francisco, 10:15 in New York, 3:15 in London. So, getting a bit late for our European friends. in light of how great things have gone this morning, and I say that sarcastically, um, I think we're going to pretty much wrap up the event there. H drop and beyond, or I do hear some talks for other names. Maybe that's worth putting to a poll, is to get some other names for calling the project. It's not a big deal to change that later. It's just a matter of creating it. We'll create a new folder for it, upload it, and then just its MIME type will just need to be changed to reflect that. But as I said, let's keep at it. This project's going to be open source. When I get home later on this afternoon, so in the next 3 or 4 hours, our European people will be happily sleeping. Probably our Americans will be happily sleeping too. I'll be working on uploading a high-res audio version of this video. I'm going to take the audio from this Ustream cast. I've been recording the entire desktop here, so I will have a much better quality for you all, and hopefully get that up later on. Get a brand new repo set up. I will try that again with Git. I'll try setting up a GCC2 Haiku VM when I get home, and then and see if that makes any difference, and then report on that. And yeah, as said, it's open source, so we can all hack away at it then. Multi-language support is one thing I'd really like to add to this application, and I don't know if there's anyone out there who can help out with that. With help out by making an option to change to one of the multi-languages and have those menu items in different languages. I'm not sure how easy or how hard that is to do with Haiku. And anything I've missed? Anything anyone can think of here or in the chat room? I know there's a bit of a delay, so I'll hold on. I noticed that Jay Stressman, as I said, has been working on the icons. That'll be really great if we could get those. But anyway, as I said, this is an open source project. It'll keep going. Even if we have missed anything, you can always hit me up. I will be in the Haiku-AU channel, this same one. I'm in there most days. I will definitely be in there once I get home tonight, and be on there. I tend to be on there for most of the time, as I said anyway. So you can always get me there, and then tell me anything you've missed or what you liked or didn't like. I'll do the usual survey thing again. Once again, so I apologise for the problems, and I'm hoping next year we'll have an alternative to Flash streaming. I'd like to thank everyone who came along to the event. I'd like to thank Mark Patterson for being here and helping out. Thank the University of Queensland for providing the bandwidth and these lovely boardroom that we've got set up. That's got room for at least 20 odd people, and we're kind of spread out with just the two of us here at the moment. Thanks everyone in the chat room. Thanks to everyone who got involved. I know it was we had. Oh, anyway, I'll save that for the blog report that I'll put up on haiku-os.org. And I think the thing to do now is just to wrap things up and say thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next year. We definitely will keep doing this. See you then.